Hey there, Gary Parrish. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Hour College Basketball Podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, and leaky black. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you're watching on YouTube, please, pretty please, go ahead and smash that like button like your Brandon Davies. You have consent. And if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, knock that out while you're here. Today, we are continuing our conference previews for the 2022-23 college basketball season. We've already done the American and the ACC. Go find them if you missed them. Now we're turning our attention to the Big East, where Creighton is the favorite after returning 5 of the top 7 scores from a team that advanced to the round of 32 of the NCAA tournament. Played Kansas pretty tough before losing 79-72. Deadleg, let's start here. If you have to bet your Guster sticker whether Creighton will or will not win the Big East regular season title, how you betting?
I will bet not, and then I have access to an endless stream of Guster stickers, so this doesn't feel that doesn't feel all that big of a
if you had to bet Guster.
The existence of the band?
Yes. It's either like you get it right, they continue.
Too heavy.
You get it right, they continue. You get it wrong, they have to.
How about the Creighton Guster connection? Creighton has an assistant named Ryan Miller.
Mm-hmm. I know Ryan
Guster's lead singer, also named Ryan Miller. So there you go. There's your.
Does Guster's lead singer have a brother named Mike Miller? Because if so, now we're getting somewhere.
He does not. And the Guster's Ryan Miller is originally from Texas, whereas Mike Miller is originally from South Dakota. GP.
South Dakota GP.
Isn't that right?
Yeah, definitely a Dakota.
I
believe it's South.
I think it's South Dakota.
Yeah.
So yeah,
is South Dakota obviously better than North Dakota?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, South Dakota's better. South Dakota's got Mount Rushmore
and the Pentagon,
and it's got the Pentagon. It's got the Jackrabbits. 1, 2, 3 trifecta. Sorry, that's it.
Like North Dakota is really second-class citizen in the Dakotas.
Isn't South Dakota also the Badlands? Doesn't also have the Badlands? Isn't that's South Dakota, right? Our Dakota listenership right now is going wild over this unexpected turn.
I literally spent an hour preparing for a Big East preview, and within 2 minutes, we're talking about which is the better Dakota, North or South.
Should I tweet this right now? Poll?
Yes.
Happen.
What's the
right now?
What's the better Dakota? I think it's South. Easy.
I think South wins. I'm going to say South wins over North by a factor. I'm going to say 64-36.
Like, name one good thing about North Dakota, or bad. Name a bad thing about North Dakota. Like, do you know anything about North Dakota?
At Fargo. It's got North Dakota State.
Damn, Fargo's tough though. That's a tough one.
Yeah,
that evens the score a little bit. That's a good television show.
That's true. That's true. I'm going to go this alphabetical order. So North Dakota, South Dakota. Hey, it's out there. It's out there for the world. When people are listening to this, that poll, can I edit this poll? It was up to be available for 1 day. Can I edit this? I could delete it real quick. I'm going to delete this. Hold on. I'm going to delete this. And
Can you imagine going to your Apple podcast and be like, oh, a Big East preview. Can't wait for this. Wonder how they think Villanova is going to be with Cal Neptune. It's like we're debating the Dakotas.
Oh, we're getting there. Hold on. So I'm gonna keep this open intentionally. Because how about this? The ACC podcast that went up the day Nada was at the ACC Media Day, and then this podcast is going up. I'll actually be at UConn checking in on Dan Hurley and crew. So I'm gonna keep this up. I'll keep this up for 3 days. North Dakota, South Dakota, better Dakota. We're going south.
I think it's south. Okay.
Storylines for the Big East here. Creighton, yes, but here are the 5 big storyline points. One, it's the new coaches. Coaching changes, coaching scuttlebutt is obviously one of the biggest drivers of talking points and interest in the sport. And there's no league that has a better collection of coaching turnover and more interesting coaching turnover than the Big East. It's not even close. You've got Jay Wright being gone. Kyle Neptune comes in for him. Sean Miller takes over at Xavier. Thad Matta goes to Butler. And then, of course, strut up, Peacock, Shaheen Holloway out at St. Peter's, goes back to his alma mater at Seton Hall. Such a strong foursome, and all 4 of those are returning to places where they spent a significant period of their basketball lives. Kyle Neptune was a longtime assistant for Jay Wright and helped them win a couple of national championships. Sean Miller, of course, helped continue to bring Xavier to a higher plane in the greater landscape of college basketball. Thad Matta is a Butler alum, and he was there for a hot minute before continuing on his college career. And then Shaheen Holloway not only played at Seton Hall and was a star recruit and player there, but he also was a longtime assistant there. So that's the biggest storyline to me. Number 2, is this Creighton's best team ever? The Blue Jays are likely to have their highest preseason ranking ever. 2 years ago, Creighton was 11th going into the season. That was a school record. Creighton will be higher than 11th when the AP Top 25 preseason poll is released later in October. By the way, Creighton was not ranked once last regular season, and it will enter as the favorite in the Big East. Although, will I have them winning the league? I will not. I've mentioned that on a previous podcast. 3 more storylines. Is this Pat Ewing's final season at Georgetown, or can a turnaround truly happen? Ewing is 68-84 overall and 26-63 in the Big East in 5 seasons. Number 4 is, does UConn take advantage and reclaim the Big East? Dan Hurley enters year 5. He's had 2 one-and-done showings in the NCAA tournament. The Big East is in the midst of a regime change. Jay Wright leaving is a major event in the solar system that is the Big East there. So if UConn really is a top 20 program in America, like its fans claim it to be, like UConn wants to be, then the Huskies really should be 1 or 2 in the pecking order in this league in the next 12 to 18 months. Can it do that? And then last one is Andre Curbelo at St. John's. Can he get that program alongside Posh Alexander into the NCAA tournament's first round for the first time since 2015? They made a first 4, but St. John's hasn't played on a Thursday or Friday in the tournament since 2015. There are a lot of hungry fan bases looking to see the Big East get a shakeup. St. John's is one of them. Those are my biggest storylines heading into the conference season.
With the new hires, I believe 7 of the 11 Big East head coaches are now minorities. We struggle with diversity when it comes to hiring head coaches in college athletics, and the Big East seems to be among the power conferences the most diverse and ones that have made hires that make the benches look a little bit more like the court. I know that's something that people within the industry have been pushing for. Like, why are these guys always hot commodities to be assistant coaches, but often have to wait a significant amount of time to get, big time jobs where you can reasonably expect to succeed? And now you got Kyle Neptune at Villanova, Shaheen Holloway at Seton Hall, and I think both those guys are going to be good eventually. Could get off to a complicated start for different reasons at both places, but I think eventually those guys are going to be good at both those places. How many Big East programs going to make the NCAA tournament? We'll get into that next, but first, a word from our partners.
The UEFA Champions League on Paramount Plus. 9 months of heart-stopping, hold-your-breath exhilaration. That's brilliant! With more magic and more drama. While the former Bavarian nails the back of the net in Barcelona, an American trades his stars with zebra stripes, and a Norwegian creates sky blue spectacles. So stream every sweat-soaked second of regulation time, stoppage time, and extra time. Beyond magnificent! This is the best of the best of the best. This is the UEFA Champions League. Stream every match live, exclusively on Paramount Plus.
So the Big East got 6 schools in the NCAA tournament last season: Villanova, Providence, UConn, Seton Hall, Marquette, Creighton. Right now, Jerry Palm projects the Big East as a 4-bid league. Only Creighton, Villanova, UConn, and Xavier. He's got Creighton as a 2 seed, Villanova as a 5, UConn as a 7, Xavier as an 8. That sound low to you? It looked like it sounded low to you.
Low on a number of fronts here. Let's just deal with those are the 4 that are expected to be the 4, and I think that is pretty much consensus there. What is your 1 through 4 for the Big East, GP? How would you order it?
Okay, here's the problem.
Oh boy.
I just noticed a note from our unbelievable editor, Marcus Nelson, this morning, who was asking.
Sent in your order. I'm writing the Big East preview, by the way.
I told him, let me get through with these podcasts, and I'll send it right to you.
You can do 1 through 4. Let's do 1.
Oh yeah.
4.
Well,
and then Creighton, I got my order for the rest. I'll hand you 5 through 11. But what do you got?
Well, I would go Creighton, Villanova, and those are the only 2 teams I have in the top 25 and 1, by the way, from the Big East. Creighton, I've got 11th. So I'm a little lower on Creighton than most. Villanova, I've got it 18th, and then I think after that I would go UConn 3, Xavier 4.
Okay, we have none of the teams in the same order, but the same 4, obviously. All right. I'm going to predict a little bit of chaos, just a little bit, not too much, not too crazy, but a little bit of chaos in the Big East. I'm going to go, and I mentioned this on a previous pod too, I'm going to say Xavier wins the Big East this season, or at least finishes atop the standings. It wouldn't stun me if we saw a situation where two teams were sharing with the best record, which has been the case a couple of times recently with the Big East there. So Xavier has Zach Fremantle back, who was recently on some sort of suspension, but he has rejoined the team. Jack Nungy, Colby Jones, Adam Kunkel. Core 4, okay? Desmond Claude, I think, could strut in and be the second best freshman in the league to Cam Whitmore at Villanova. Sean Miller being back, where he might ride out the next decade plus and potentially get this program to a notch or two above where it is right now. And right now, it's obviously a respectable perch. There is a ton of intrigue here. The program and its fans obviously have NCAA tournament aspirations. That's not something you can say for every power conference coach in year one. It is definitely the case with Miller at Xavier. They will be frustrated, to say the least, if Miller doesn't get this team dancing in his first season there. I'm going to pick him to win the league because I actually think he might go 9 deep legitimately. They could have a lot of different looks. Could be one of the tougher scouts in the league. I expect some unpredictability with the Big East, and I'm just going to take a chance and go with X. And another reason why I'm going to save for when we pick our player of the year, coach of the year, and freshman year, and I'll explain a little bit more on the back end of the podcast there. I will go Xavier 1, and then I will go Creighton. I'll go Creighton 2. We did do a summer shoot around episode on Creighton. They've got a wonderful roster here. Okay. They've got Ryan Kalkbrenner, a tremendous big. I'm as much of a fan of Ryan Nemhardt than maybe anybody in the country. He's coming off a wrist injury from last season, but he should be back. Arthur Kaluma might be, for as much as he does and is expected to do, Creighton fans don't underrate him, but he might be among like the 3 to 5 most underrated players in the country. We haven't started to assemble our top 101 players list, but I will put Arthur Kaluma on the list because he deserves to be on that list. Mike Miller's son, Mason Miller, is on the roster here because Ryan Miller is his uncle, Creighton assistant there. And yeah, I don't know. I do like Creighton to be second, but I'm gonna just fade them a little bit. I'll go Xavier 1, Creighton 2. I've got notes on Nova and UConn, but I'll shut up. I've got Nova 3, then UConn 4.
Well, Creighton brings back 5 of the top 7 scorers. They add Baylor Shireman.
Yeah.
Jack Rabbit.
South Dakota. Here we go.
And I knew there was a way we could wrap the Dakotas back in here again. But so like, that's good. Obviously good. I've got them picked to win the Big East, but this is, and if you listen to the Creighton summer shoot around episode, you know where I'm at on this. They finished 50th at KenPom. Do you really go from 50th at KenPom to the top 10 just by bringing back a lot of the same pieces and adding a Jackrabbit?
I don't know. And I want to know how many times it's happened. Over the past 20 seasons, how many times has a team finished top 10 in KenPom that was outside the top 50 the season prior? I'm sure it has happened. I just don't think
I'm sure that happens. But it would largely be tied to a massive recruiting class. And this isn't really that. I mean, Shireman's great and it will be great, I think. But like, it's mostly the same guys from a team that finished 50th at KenPom.
Yeah. But improvements are to be expected. I don't know. They're so good defensively, which is why I think the jump should have. McDermott's a really good offensive coach. This was, if you really weren't clued in, like Creighton won because of his defense a lot last season. Kalkbrenner's a really, really good two-way player. So that's why I think they've got a good chance. But I'm fading Creighton just a little bit in terms of like, I'm not going to have him top. You've got him 11. I'm not going to have him top 10 by nature. Like, I have Xavier finishing atop the league. I'll have Xavier ahead of Creighton, and I don't even have Xavier top 10. So,
you mentioned Xavier. Just some thoughts on them. That's a program that has been in 16 of the past 21 NCAA tournaments, but hasn't made it since 2018.
And it was the longest streak, literally, in more than 4 decades of like Xavier's in its longest NCAA tournament drought in 2 generations at the moment, and that should end in Miller in year 1. And
if you're Travis Steele, I guess you've moved on. But man, how many moments do you have where you go, we were 11-1 last season.
Mm-hmm.
We started 11-1 and it just slipped away. It just spiraled. But if you start 11-1 and then take that to a good place, you not only keep your job, you get a contract extension. And instead it's over. And Sean Miller is back in Cincinnati. With Villanova, I mentioned that I think Kyle's going to be good there, but there's some complications to start. Obviously, the biggest one is Justin Moore is not going to be ready to start the season. He's coming off of a torn right Achilles. We don't know what he's going to look like when he is available to play. Will he be the same player? I think a doctor would tell you to probably bet against it. But we'll see. So Kyle's going to start his first season at Villanova with no Justin Moore. You got to replace Colin Gillespie, Jermaine Samuels, Hall of Fame coach in Jay Wright. And then Cam Whitmore is currently sidelined with a thumb injury. I'm not sure how serious it is, but
not going to be there at the start. He's not going to be in the season opener. We know that much.
Right. And so two of your projected top 3 players.
Yes. And they might literally be the top 2 players.
Right.
When we look up
are not going to be there to
Yes.
start the season. That's obviously not ideal.
Yeah. And I mentioned this on our Villanova shoot around, which was obviously on the tail end, our last one, I guess. They have a roadie at Temple the first week of the season, and then they're going to play at Michigan State November 18th. Will Cam Whitmore be available for that? They've got Iowa State. They've got in their MTE there. They've got an interesting schedule ahead. I actually like the way that this schedule was laid out. Something tells me that the majority of this was done by Jay. But because of that, yeah, I'm just going to have Nova finishing 3rd. Brandon Slater is obviously another key. He should be fully healthy, and I do like his potential there. But yeah, when are they going to get, when are they get Justin Moore at full strength there? I do like, Eric Dixon, Caleb Daniels. They're classic Villanova players. They're going to be a good team. Mark Armstrong's another freshman to know that probably will get good minutes. Jordan Longino will certainly have a minutes increase jump from a season ago. I'm gonna put them 3rd. I'm gonna trust Villanova, but I would actually personally I would be surprised if Villanova won the Big East this season, and that has not been a statement that you could make in a decade. But I'm gonna have them go 3, and then I've got UConn 4, and here are my pre-UConn thoughts. I'm literally gonna drive up there in a couple of days and check it out. But by the way, I do think that anyone 1 through 4 can fin. I'd be surprised if Villanova did it, but 1 through 4, I think any of these teams could be the 1 seed in the Big East tournament. I'll say that. Adama Sanogo is the best player yet again. He'll be in the mix for preseason player of the year. Big East Media Day is next week. I'll also be in Manhattan for that. I'm wondering if Andre Jackson hops on a rocket this season and really becomes the guy for UConn, though. I don't know. We'll see. I'll credit Hurley and his staff on this. He lost RJ Cole, Tyrese Martin, who I really, really liked, Isaiah Whaley, Cook, Jalen Gaffney. That's a pretty good chunk of players in production, and I don't see much of any fall off for UConn. That is the signal of a very strong program. I don't think there's another school in the Big East that can claim the same in terms of loss of production, but without the expected step back there. The question is, will Tristan Newton, who's coming over via East Carolina, if he can get it done at the point? I just got to see on that overall. And I was a big Tyrese Martin guy, but I do like Andre Jackson. I think that he can certainly step up and fill that role, but I go UConn 4. Did we have them in the same spot? We must have. No, you had UConn 3 and Xavier 4, right?
Yes, UConn 3, Xavier 4. Newton will be interesting. He's one of these classic transfers that averaged a whole bunch of points, nearly 18 points per game, but did it for a bad team at East Carolina. And one thing to note, he is at least statistically a non-shooter. 31.6% from 3 in 3 years at ECU. That's not the perfect type of guy you want with Sanogo on the court, but I do think Adama Sanogo will be terrific again. He averaged 15 and 9 last season. You're obviously closer to this than I am, given where you live. Is it a talking point at all that UConn has been eliminated from the tournament past 2 years by lower seeded teams?
A little bit, but it's not a fire starter. But certainly, if that were to happen again a third time, I know it drives Hurley nuts as it that's understandably so. Like this UConn fan base is not about getting to the tournament and just getting to the tournament and saying we made the tournament 5 years in a row. They will not tolerate it. They need deep runs in the tournament. So it's a little something, but UConn fans they're pretty much expecting and asking that UConn be a factor in this tournament or this conference this year, then make the tournament and win some games. It's year 5 for Hurley, and he's got to deliver in terms of victory. He's not on the hot seat or anything like that, but they will not stand for just merely getting into the field. That's not enough.
Right. Just for people who might not be familiar, 2021 got a 7 seed in the NCAA tournament, lost a 10 seed Maryland. 2022 got a 5 seed and lost a 12 seed New Mexico State. We talked about this with Tennessee. Like Rick Barnes has got that program operating at a high level, but there's a pattern that has developed where they keep losing to lower seeded or worse seeded teams in the tournament. And there's at least 2 years of that at UConn. Again, Dan's great and Dan's safe. And I suspect that that's not a meaningful pattern that is going to become a part of his label at UConn. It's just something that, it's just something that has happened. And if it were to happen again, I think you're right. It'll probably lead a talk show somewhere.
All right. I've got my order for the rest. So I'll just, let's go team by team here. I'll give you a quick commentary, then volley on back. 5, I'll go St. John's. First of all, Golden Gate Mike, incredible stat. He's gone 20 years as a head coach, has never finished below 500 in a single season, and I don't think that happens again here. Johnny's could be a firecracker. They've got Posh Alexander and Andre Curbelo as the starting backcourt. They are not diametrically opposed in how they play, but obviously Curbelo's a lot of flash, offense, very little defense. Alexander's one of the better defenders and one of the more reliable players on that end of the floor. This team could be as enjoyable, if not unpredictable, as any team in the conference. Curbelo has to be better, though. That's the thing. He was hyped a year ago as a potential Big Ten first-team all-level player. That did not happen, and he was a sieve defensively. He would have times when he was a net negative, clearly a suck on Illinois. And
didn't he ultimately get benched as well?
Yes, it was just not good. But maybe Golden Gate Mike's approach to offense, maybe that's the Super Mario mushroom for his powers. Then they're kind of banking on that. I'm going to say 5 teams in the tournament. I'm going to say St. John's gets in. That's where my line ends there. Montez Mathis, by the way, is another returnee. He'll be a quiet but crucial guy in the backcourt there. I know you don't have an order here 1 through 11, but I've got St. John's 5. Would you hop on that train, or maybe is that a little too aggressive for you?
It's not. I'd probably go Providence. But just because I believe in Ed Cooley, but I'd like St. John's to be good. Like it'd be nice to have a good college power conference basketball team in New York City.
Yeah, not just good, but I'm talking like St. John's is ranked 75% of the season good. Can we ever get that again? Like, come on, we've been waiting forever, right? And yeah, I hear you. I've got Providence. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so St. John's, Providence in some order. After the top 4 makes sense to me. And then after that, I think it really gets, you can go a million different ways. I mean, Marquette is obviously a strong program. Shaka was great in year 1, but they lose Justin Lewis, Daryl Morsell. They're super young in a time where you don't really want to be that. And they're not super young, like with 3 5-star freshmen. They're just young. So that's an issue with Marquette, but I still think they could finish. They could challenge to finish top half in the league. Challenge to finish in the top half of the league.
Okay. Well, I've got Providence 6. Their variance does seem dramatic. I'm going to trust Cooley a little bit. So many of the good players from last season's regular season champs are gone. Jared Bynum is back. His volume will probably be ridiculously high, so high that he'll have a chance at all Big East honors. Ed Croswell's back in the middle. I would expect him to make a jump, and then they get Noah Locke from Louisville, Bryce Hopkins from Kentucky, Devin Carter from South Carolina. We'll just see how it goes. I don't really know. I think it's going to take time for the team to find itself. Cooley's done a good job with some misfit rosters in the past, but I'll say 5 bids. Freshman guard, point guard, Jaden Pierre might crack into the rotation as like a 20-minute game per guy by February. I will go strut up. I will go Seton Hall 7. Sheena Holloway brought Casey and Defo over from St. Peter's. Then he got like another 7 guys in the portal. The starting lineup, I'm just going to blindly guess, is going to be a little bit of a rotating cast through the first few weeks as guys find their roles and Holloway molds his playbook around his personnel. I don't know. Guys who are back, Kaderi Richmond is a wing, and then Tyree Samuel's a center. So I've got Seton Hall 7. You mentioned Marquette. I'm going to go 9. So GP, I'll go Butler 8, Marquette 9. I don't like at all how Barry Collier mishandled really the firing of LaValle Jordan and staff. But that said, now that that's in the rear view, Thad Matta back at his alma mater, we could look up in 3 years and say, man, was that the necessary move to keep Butler a foot in the Big East? I don't expect it this year. I think it's an NIT team at best. There's been a couple of news items that have come out as we're doing these league previews just before, like Jalen Thomas, who's a transfer from Georgia State, he's going to be out for who knows how long. He had a pulmonary embolism that was discovered, so he's not even going to play. Let's wish him to be healthy as quickly as possible there. But they do have Manny Bates via NC State. I do like Manny Bates a lot. Actually, I think that's a really good transfer. Ali via Akron, and then Eric Hunter comes over via Purdue. Those are 3 big transfers. Like there's something there with Butler. Those names are big enough to have me put them ahead of Marquette. Best returning player for sure at BU is Chuck Harris. So we'll see. I don't know. Butler could be one of those teams where, it gets swept by DePaul, but we look up and it somehow split with UConn, and one of those games was a roadie against UConn. I don't know. Marquette, I got him 9 GP. Tyler Kolek is a potential breakout guy. Yeah. Cam Jones, maybe he turns into a 13, 14 point per game guy for MU. To me, they made the tournament last season. 20 wins would be a coup for this group. I'm going to go 9 there. And then I got Georgetown. I got a couple notes on them, but I'll toss it back to you before that. I got Georgetown 10 and DePaul 11. But I'm going to tell you, it seems like Butler and Marquette, Georgetown, DePaul, all kind of toss them in a bin there. I would expect Seton Hall and Providence to have a little bit of separation from the others, but Thad Matta, never count him out. An insane career winning percentage. So maybe they'll make noise in year 1.
Yeah, to me, the most interesting thing at the bottom of this league is, can Patrick do enough to get a year 7? And based on the projections, I'd say probably not. Like if everybody's got him finishing 10th or 11th in the Big East, that's not going to be enough. And that stinks. They obviously went 0-19 in the league last season. I think you had the record at the top, 26-63 in 5 seasons in the Big East. I mean, the winning percentage is .292. I mean, it's dreadful. I mean, this has gone worse than anybody could have imagined. Even if you were like, this is a stupid thing for Georgetown to do, you wouldn't have assumed it would have gone this poorly. I mean, it has actually gone worse than anybody could have imagined. And we talked about this before. Like, I wanted this to work. Georgetown's a big brand from my childhood. Patrick Ewing is one of the first basketball players I remember thinking about when he was a monster at Georgetown. And so I thought it would, and still think it would be neat, like if he could be the guy to get this program back to respectability. And he had that moment during the COVID year.
There was no one at the damn arena.
And that was terrible.
I mean, God, there's no one even there. Can you imagine Georgetown winning the Big East tournament with an arena full of fans? There's no one there. I mean, it's a great moment, but like,
that moment, but it wasn't everything it could have been. And then, it didn't serve as a launching pad to anything good. And so now here we are. And so I imagine Georgetown would be making a coaching change at the end of the season, but I would love to be wrong. Like if we could look up and Pat had him finishing 5th somehow in the league, like that'd be great, but
it would.
It doesn't look likely on paper.
I almost put him 9, but Marquette made the tournament. I have to trust Shaka more than Patrick Ewing in this spot right now. I just do. So I wanted to go higher than 10 for Georgetown. Qudus Wahab has done the unprecedented. Georgetown to Maryland, back to Georgetown, and he was actually a quality player at Georgetown when he had transferred to Maryland. I was like, man, Ewing actually, maybe Wahab turns into like, maybe he's the surprise of the league and is like a first team all league guy. I don't know. They don't have Aminu Muhammad. He left. There's just tons of turnover on this roster. So I don't know. We'll see. DePaul, real quick. I have a trivia time here. I got him last. This is one of those deals where I will not pick DePaul last, or I will not pick DePaul 10th once they finish like 6th in the Big East. Like, I got to see it with Stubblefield as coach there. No power conference team. And to be clear, I'm not counting the likes of East Carolina and Tulane and stuff. Just truly like power conference teams, which DePaul, I guess, barely qualifies, but it qualifies. No power conference team has a longer NCAA tournament drought than DePaul, which last danced in 2004. 2004. And I've got DePaul finishing last year. My trivia time is, What school has the second longest drought among all power conference programs? School and year, if you could. I think this is gettable. It's not like immediate, like, oh yeah, no, but I think this is gettable.
Power conference school, longest drought. Did Penn State go recently?
Penn State is not the answer. Yeah, Penn State has done it. I'll give you the exact year on Penn State. Penn State's not the answer.
Okay.
Penn State last danced in 2011.
Yeah.
It would have danced in 2022, but there was no tournament.
Right. I heard about that. Dumbest pandemic of my lifetime. How about this? I'm going to go Washington State.
Bada bing. It's a halvesy. Can you give me the year?
The last year they went?
Yeah. What's the last year they went?
Tony Bennett.
That's a man, not a year.
Tony Bennett is also a year.
He was the coach.
He's a year. Tony Bennett is a year.
He's an era unto himself.
That's true. Tony Bennett. Let me see here.
Okay, well, if you're gonna literally look up,
yeah, I'm just gonna literally look it up.
You're literally looking it up. I'm gonna tell you, it was 2008. Cougs 26-9. We're 10th, and Washington State was the number 10 team in Ken Palm. That's insane. They were a 4 seed. Washington State. Aaron Baines was on that team. No, Klay Thompson, he was gone. He was not on that team. Aaron Baines was the big name to know. Derek Lowe was also a very good player on that team. But anyway, DePaul has the longest streak. Drought. Washington State is number 2. That is our order. Want to do preseason awards?
Yeah. For me, it's pretty straightforward. I will go.
This is straightforward?
I think player of the year, pretty straightforward.
I think this is the toughest preseason player of the race year to peg of all of them. I don't think there's an obvious candidate. I think you could build out arguments for 5 to 7 guys. So having said that, I'm interested to see who you picked.
Adama Sanogo.
Okay. He's one of them. Yeah. Sanogo's
like an awesome established player for a likely NCAA tournament team.
Yep. He's certainly there. I'm going to go
of the projected NCAA tournament teams. Does anybody have anybody who was as good as him last season? I don't think so.
It depends on how you want to define that. Because Justin Moore at his platonic healthy ideal for Villanova has a case. My pick is Ryan Kalkbrenner for Creighton because I think there are so many really good big men. Kalkbrenner he's a dude, man. 13.1 points, 7.7 boards, 2.6 blocks last season. Those numbers should all go up. Now, Ryan Nemhardt is also, I think you can consider Nemhardt, Kalkbrenner, Sanogo, I've got Xavier winning the league. So by nature of that, I had to figure, well, it would either have to be Colby Jones or probably Jack Nungy. That would be the most likely there, but Fremantle's also really good. And then Villanova, like if Cam Whitmore gets healthy and if Cam Whitmore is a top 7 pick in the NBA, then he's going to freshman player of the year is a tough pick, but if not him, Justin Moore, I just think there's a lot of guys there. I like that we're splitting there. So Sanogo is he's probably the most ideal pick, but that being said, like Creighton's the projected winner of the conference there, and oftentimes you'll have the representative from that. But Creighton's got, and then you got Shireman. You got so many different ladles and so many different pots there. It's kind of tough to sort it.
Freshman of the year, Cam Whitmore.
There's no other. He's the number 11 guy per 247 the class of 2022. Again, as long as he can get that thumb good, and if he's playing, he's got to be the freshman of the year pick.
And then, you know what? Coach of the year, I'll go Dan Hurley.
Okay. I'm going Sean Miller because I have him winning the league. So
yeah.
He will. If Xavier wins
the league, Sean Miller will be coach of the year. That's easy.
But this is an interesting one here. Creighton wins the league. I guess you can make an argument, but they're the favorite, but they're rarely this highly rated. Sean Miller, obviously. Dan Hurley. This feels like whoever wins the league, granted you're standalone atop the conference, coach of the year should go there, unless you have literally a situation where like Ewing gets Georgetown to 3rd or DePaul finishes 6th. Then maybe you could build a case there because the expectations are so low. But I'm looking forward to the Big East here. I'll say 5 bids. What about you as we wrap up? Will you say 4? If Palm's got them at 4, are you going to go 4? Or you think there's going to be a 5th that gets them?
I think there'll be a 5th. I don't have any idea who it'll be.
There we go.
I think they'll get 5. It'll be everybody's top 4, and then we'll let them fight it out. Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Huck Larnell. Thank you guys once again for listening. Eye on College Basketball Podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Over at Apple, leave a nice review. Write some words. There's more of us than there are of them. You take issue with that, Norlander?
No. South Dakota, we're 415 votes in, 61% to 39% over North Dakota. But as you listen to this pod, go back and check. I'm going to pin this at the top of my tweet profile for a couple of days. So log a vote there.
What's the better Carolina?
That we're going to save that for the Pac-12 preview.
Yes, that's where that belongs. Make sure to catch the Pac-12 preview where we will open on the better Carolina, North or South. Smash the like button if you're still here. No idea why you'd still be here, but we appreciate you. We'll talk to you again real soon. Till then, take care.